Hello again, everybody. I'm the Dude 5 back with another video. Today we will be concluding Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition with Part 11, the ending and the final bosses. Final two bosses, to be exact. We have to eliminate the Tower and the Black Hand of Sauron, and before each battle there will be Uruk skirmishes to encounter. We have to take out some of the last Black Captain's forces before each encounter, which makes it a little bit more challenging. So let's just dive right into it. Your forces await your command, and the time has come to launch your assault against the Black Hand.
We wish to thank you for coming to our aid, Captain.
Aye. Never realized my smuggling could be so appreciated by the Queen. Lady.
They're here.
Orcs. Well, they make bad passengers. But I've carried worse. Lady. Keep that plank level. Boy, touch nothing.
Queen Marwen. It's good to see you in better health.
The boats are ready. The skippers have been briefed on your destination.
Good.
How long will those orcs obey you?
Well, I should think as long as I like. I'm in your debt.
We owe you our lives, Talion.
Just put an end to this madness.
My lady.
It's kind of cool that this game kind of takes you to places of Mordor that you've never seen before. Pretty cool. And here's what really pisses me off, guys. Remember a few videos back when we were trying to take out one of the last war chiefs? And Barfa Cave Rat decided to be an annoying little prick. And somehow, he's back at the end of this fucking series. He has become my nemesis.
I see in the future the shadow that will cover Middle-earth. The Grave Walker is a tiny flame. We are the poison sea! We will spill misery out across Mordor! We will wash away the light! Drown the air with Uruk cries, and the earth with Uruk blood! Surrender your will!
So, I'd have to go back, I think it was, what, part 5 or so? Yeah, it was Shadow of Mordor part 5 in my series where...
It's good to see you again, my sweet. Though you did try to kill me last time.
Like there's some sort of romance between me and Barfa, like he treats me like I'm his own personal sex slave, or at least he talks to me like I'm his own personal sex slave. Little weird if you ask me, but I can remember back in part 5 of this series where I ended up having to chase him down because I was trying to kill him, and I exploded him with fire, and he died. He legitimately died, and you guys saw that. And then when I was trying to take out one of the other bodyguards, captains slash bodyguards, he randomly appeared again with burn scars on the left side of his face, his left eye blinded, and somehow he miraculously survived death. There was no explanation of how he was resurrected. There was absolutely nothing except the fact that he just showed up in the middle of battle I think the game might have randomly selected like an enemy for me to go up against, like at the end of this game, like my nemesis, my personal nemesis, to go up against at the end of this game. And apparently they selected Barfa Cave Rat because he died and then came back. Somehow.
I wasn't
And the head of that corpse just followed us like eyeballs in a painting.
I hope my soldiers gave you a warm welcome.
Where are you? Show yourself! This is the work of the tower.
The Black Hand went looking for you. But it will give me great pleasure to take you myself. Bow to me. And I will deliver you to the Dark Lord, unspoiled.
We bow to no one.
The Dark Lord forgives you, Celebrimbor. Return to him and cast off this human corpse.
Stand up and fight.
There's no need, Ranger. Celebrimbor is your curse. He chose you.
Silence!
And he can release you at any time. Yes, that's all you are, Ranger. A vessel for the Ringmaker. As you wish.
And here is what I don't like about this boss fight.
Such pain.
For one,
Such a broken.
the tower has swords and weapons. You can see them sheathed on his back. Two, you have to stay within the combat area, understandably, but that's not really that much of a challenge unless you're just not paying attention and you accidentally move out of the combat area. For those not paying attention to what it's saying on the screen, it can become more of a challenge if you try confronting him directly. And if you do try confronting him directly, he will kill you. Like, he won't be a one-shot kill, but he will instantly counter a direct attack. That's why, kind of uniquely, but also, you know, the uniqueness of this fight against this Black Captain, against the tower, it makes it unique, but at the same time, the uniqueness of this boss fight also kind of hurts the boss fight because, like I said before, in video games, each boss fight, each top-tier boss fight is supposed to get more and more challenging. This was by far one of the... I randomly paused to spend an ability point, but this was by far the easiest boss fight I've ever encountered in a video game in my entire life so far, and that's saying something, because I've come up against some pretty tough bosses, and I've managed to beat them, and it's taken quite a few tries sometimes. This was by far the easiest boss fight I've ever encountered. When you enter the Wraith world, you can actually see multiple, like, shadow clones. I'm kind of quoting Naruto, but I don't watch Naruto, but I know what it is. Anyway, you can, when you enter the Wraith world, you can see multiple like clone copies of the tower. It's not just him singularly roaming around, which kind of would add. I mean, it can kind of be a little bit misdirecting. And at the very least, if you're gonna have each stealth drain attack do so much damage to him, lower the damage output you do to him with each stealth drain, because if there's going to be multiple clones of him walking around this fortress, then each stealth drain should do a little bit less damage to him in order to make the time constraint a bit of a challenge. That, in that regard, then, if they did it that way, it would have been a little bit more challenging. But no, 3 stealth drains and he's fucking done. And then you roam up to, you know, your wife, he's deceiving you, and you just follow a series of button prompts to finish him off. It's a very flawed boss fight, and it's not hard to defeat him at all. However, it does, you know, aesthetically, graphically, it does look really, you know, intense and epic, finishing him off this way. Brutalizing the shit out of him. Earn the silver trophy, the tower crumbles.
Cursed. You deceived me.
It was Sauron's doing. This was your doing!
I should have died with my family.
I thought you wanted revenge. I can leave you. But there is only one way to close the circle. The Black Hand remains.
Not for long.
I am with child. Talion's child.
I was offered a post commanding the Black Gate. I intended to refuse. I shall hide you both there.
Thank you, Hollis.
This is not for you. I do this for my daughter.
None is in flames. We must return to Queen Marwen.
The Black Hand has been here. I can feel it.
Lothario.
Alright, this is the final mission. Starting this mission will take you through the end of your journey, but once you finish, you'll be returned to continue where you left off. So you'll still be able to, you know, go back and do any side stuff and get on the end all collectibles in the world, in the realm of Mordor.
I am not worth your vengeance, Father. Why do you fight?
We will be together soon. Forever.
Soon, Celebrimbor. Soon.
Nasty beasts. We want this. But we took it from them.
Ishi Krim Patrul. Thief! It was mine to keep.
Be gone.
Sauron knows we're here.
Let's not keep him waiting.
So in that scene, Celebrimbor tried deceiving the Dark Lord. Sauron thought that Celebrimbor was kind of helping him fine-tune the One Ring of Power a bit for his benefit. But what Celebrimbor ended up doing was he ended up forging a bit of his own power into the One Ring to try to claim it as his own. And then we'll kind of see the final memory of Celebrimbor in the fight against the Black Hand here.
I come for you, Lord of Gifts.
Feel the true power of the Grave Walker!
So in this fight, our army has to take on the small army of the Black Hand with the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth talons of the Black Hand.
Your head on the spikes of the Black Gate for what you did to him.
Having a Hate of Caragors will give him extra strength a little bit. I think only one of my guys died in this. Like, war chiefs anyway. Like, I only think one of my war chiefs died in this fight, if not two. But I even ended up turning some of the other side Uruks. I ended up turning them against their former masters, and having enough allies on my side pretty much turned the tide. Made this battle pretty easy. In fact, it wasn't too difficult. Kind of gives you your first taste of domination combat, you know? Plus, I'd already gotten pretty good at it, so, you know. So Maku Stormbringer did end up dying. The first talent ended up killing him. And I accidentally ended up killing some of my lesser followers by accident, but that's okay. So the second talent of the Black Hand died there. And the fourth talent ended up dying there. I ended up picking some very strong followers. Very, very strong. Fifth Talon dead.
Fire Mountain bring doom! Doom to all men!
Yeah, I should have been able to finish him off there, but instead I accidentally ended up killing a couple of my side followers. But then I was able, apparently this guy was not invulnerable to ranged attacks, and he got hit with a huge explosive arrow, but he had a shield to block, so I just kind of double tapped him in the head, and that ended up finishing him off, along with a few shots from one of my war chiefs. So that whole fight wasn't too difficult. Not too difficult at all. Yeah, I mean, it disappoints me when in games like this and you go into a boss fight expecting it to be, you know, kind of a tough challenge, and it ends up being just supremely easy. It's a bit of a letdown. It looks cool, and it's unique in its own way, but you expect it to be a challenge, and the fact that it was hardly challenging at all, the fact that all you were doing was stealth training him, was so easy and just really lackluster and just really disappointing.
Without the power of the One Ring,
No matter how cool the fight itself looked. You know,
be trapped within Mordor.
gameplay-wise, it has to be more of a challenge. And after we defeat all those guys and collect all those runes, we can scale the Black Gate and confront the Black Hand. Which, in my opinion, is even more of a disappointing boss fight than the tower. You'll see in a moment what I mean. Apparently Talion is Spider-Man. Nah, he's just really good at climbing.
I have a gift for you, Celebrimbor.
And here we have the final memory. just ends up brutally murdering Celebrimbor and his family.
Dark Lord gave you a second chance to stand by his side. Now I give you no choice. We shall be sealed together in death. So be it. Return to me, Ringmaker.
Strike now, Talion! I cannot hold it for much longer!
Talion, my heart, we will be together soon. Forever.
The Black Hand of Sauron is dead. The Hither Shore is calling us. This is no longer our battle. I tried fighting you. It can't be done.
Could you really rest for all of eternity, knowing that you had the chance to stop him, but did nothing? The time has come for a new ring.
Alrighty guys, that was the end of Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition. And now, while the credits roll, I will give my review of this game. I will touch on several points that I kind of have already touched on, but I'll kind of finish some thoughts that I have on this game. Firstly, storyline. So basically, you know, Sauron in his fair form ended up going to Celebrimbor, the great ringmaker of the Second Age, the great elf lord of the Second Age, and he ended up deceiving him into a partnership, and Celebrimbor forged all the great rings besides the One Ring. And he also ended up forging the three elemental rings of power in secret for water, fire, and air. Those rings are seldom mentioned. However, once Sauron deceived Celebrimbor further and ended up leading an attack on his castle, on his fortress, of course, Celebrimbor fights back, but he's ended up ultimately defeated and taken hostage by Sauron because Sauron wants to continue to bend Celebrimbor to his will, and hold dominion over him and have him stand by his side, which is something that Celebrimbor knows he cannot do. He must fight this evil. And so what he ends up doing is when Sauron tries to manipulate him into fine-tuning and kind of refining the One Ring of Power a bit, Celebrimbor sees it as an opportunity to try to forge some of his own power and skill, and into it, and to try to claim the One Ring as his own, in order to fight back against Sauron, and ultimately he thinks he can be successful with it. But then in Celebrimbor's final battle against Sauron, he realizes all too late that the One Ring answers to Sauron alone, because that's how it was forged. That's the kind of object it is, and the fact that it's so powerful in and of itself that it has a mind and will of its own, and it's always trying to find its way back to its master. And he realizes this all too late, and Sauron ends up stealing the One Ring back from him, and ends up murdering him and his entire family. And that is what directly connects Celebrimbor and Talion. They're both linked by the same tragedy that Sauron and the forces of Sauron have both inflicted upon them. And so that's why they're linked kind of by fate, and a repetition of history, in a sense. And so that's just to kind of clarify any confusions anybody may have had about the storyline of this game in the past and the history between Celebrimbor and Sauron. So, as far as gameplay, combat, all that good stuff, this game is chock full of side quests and side collectibles, just in the base game itself and then also in the DLC. The combat is very similar to free flow combat of the Batman Arkham games, and some of the abilities that you can purchase to make yourself more powerful and better in combat are just absolutely ridiculous, and they make you ultimately better throughout the game. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple leveling and ability point, spending system. I like it. It's very, easy to follow. The combat's fun. The more you practice at it, the better you get at it. And so, and the free climbing aspect is, I mean, it's pretty simple. You're just, you press X and use the left stick to climb higher. It's, the gameplay is great in this game. Absolutely, 100%. I love playing this game. I love slaughtering Uruks. It's just fun. And the combat aspect and the commanding followers aspect of this game is very, visceral, in your face. You can forge your own army, or forge the beginnings of your own army, at least, in this game. And then they really, deal more on that subject in Shadow of War, and you get more of a taste of what that's like in Shadow of War. So I love the gameplay of this game. The storyline is great. It doesn't really, not that I've experienced. The storyline of this game really doesn't infringe upon, the story of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. It takes place in between those two timelines of the story of, Middle Earth and the One Ring and all that. So the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War take place in between those two storylines. And so it really doesn't hurt the storyline of either The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings too much. So I'm just kind of waiting to see how the storyline and the story arc of Shadow of War kind of plays into Lord of the Rings. That'll be interesting to see and figure out as I do that series on my channel. But as far as the Nemesis system and the bosses go, for the most part, it was really solid. Each captain and war chief has their own strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately it makes each fight unique in its own way. And you go about killing each captain and war chief a certain way, or branding them a certain way, stuff like that. And if you die, if you die in any way, shape, or form, any empty vacant slots in Sauron's army from captains and war chiefs that you've killed, Uruks end up advancing in rank, because once you die or once you get killed by one of them, that ends up helping them grow in strength and power. So the beginnings of the Nemesis system in this game are very solid. However, the one thing with we haven't really seen any, like, a captain or war chief resurrection until Shadow of War, there are certain Uruks in Shadow of War that have the ability to resurrect themselves or become resurrected from the dead. They're necromancers, essentially. But they didn't have any of that in this game, and so I'm wondering how it's possible for Barfa Cave Rat for me to kill him via explosion and then have him come back with a scar on the side of his face, alive and well and wanting revenge. I don't know if the game just randomly did that because I needed a nemesis for the end of the game in the fight against the tower, or what. So I think personally that was a flaw in the nemesis system, and there wasn't much explanation as to how he came back after I killed him. Other than that, the final two boss fights of this game, graphically, the best boss fight was the final fight against the Black Hand, even though it was just a series of button prompts, which was really, really lame, but looked really, really cool. The easiest boss fight in this game, and the easiest boss fight that I have ever encountered in a game, was the fight against the tower, just sneaking around, being stealthy and stealth draining him, and I've played the Batman Arkham games enough to be pretty good at stealth. And so that was just really sad that these last two boss fights were so easy in a game where pretty much every single encounter and fight and boss fight against a captain and war chief is supposed to be unique in its own way, and is supposed to be technically, get more and more challenging or add new challenges and aspects to the fight that you didn't encounter, with your last boss fight. And so these top tier boss fights, the hammer was the most challenging, and actually kind of the most fun in that regard. But the final two boss fights were so easy, it was a little sickening and just really disappointing. The fact that those last two boss fights were so easy, those are the two biggest problems I have with this game. But other than that, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I give this game a solid 8. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably it's a very critically acclaimed game, and it's very, very good, and it has a sequel now. So that just goes to show you how good this game is. So that's my review of this game. I really, really liked it. I've given you my thoughts on the positives and the negatives of this game, and hopefully playing through Shadow of War will see much improvement. So I want to thank everyone so much for watching. My name has been I'm the Dude 5. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn the bell icon on for notifications of future content. Also, check out my friend Night the Wolf on YouTube. I'll provide a link on screen to his channel as well. Be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the bell icon for notifications. All this will show up in the last about 20 seconds of the video here while the credits are rolling. Anybody looking for a new clan to join up on for Destiny 2, check out Body Body No Pants Party. I'll provide a link in the description for Bungie.net. You can search up Body Body No Pants Party in the clan section there. Also, those of you with smartphones and tablets, download the Discord app from your local app store, search up Body Body No Pants Party, and follow instructions from the clan leaders and get inducted into the clan straight away. Thank you all so, so much for watching this series, guys. And as always, stay classy. And I will see you all out there on our many, many, many great adventures. Bye-bye.